The reason you keep failing isn't discipline, it's biology. And this is simply because your brain is wired for safety. It likes to do things which feel easy, rewarding, and things which feel safer. And that is why you always, most likely, love scrolling instead of doing the work or having snacks instead of staying focused. That is how the brain is naturally wired. So, if you know this, instead of trying to use willpower to actually overcome or do whatever you want to do, you actually learn how the brain works. And when once you learn how the brain works, you start becoming good in forming habits and breaking the bad habits that you don't want. And this is simply how the brain works or how the neurons are wired in order to form a new habit. First, we have the cue. There must be a cue for the habit. For example, or how do you set a cue? A cue is a form of a pattern. For example, you say that when I wake up, I will X. That is the cue. After I do this, I will do this. That is the cue. Meaning that whenever a certain action is completed, it forms or puts in order another action or another set of routine to follow through. So that is what we call a cue. So that is how you create a cue. After you have a cue, then we have the action because the cue precedes the action. Now, in the part of the action, you have to shrink the action. So let's say you have to do, let's say, like read a book. Let's say you have to wash some clothes. Let's say you have to do some exercises. You shrink the action into a small scale thing that you have to do. For example, if you have to do 100 push-ups, you scale it down to do 10 push-ups. If you say you do 10 push-ups, after you have the cue, you make the brain feel safer into doing this. The brain is not scared away by the intensity of doing it. Remember, the brain also wants to conserve energy. It avoids pain. That is how it is wired. So we are actually rewiring it by creating a new habit. So once you have the hook, the cue, you have shrunk the action. Then what you want to add is what is called rewarding the process. Because when you reward the process, you reinforce that behavior and the brain feels that this is something natural because it is rewarded. So by rewarding it, you can say this: when I wake up, I will wash the clothes, and once after I wash the clothes, I will watch a movie. I'll scroll for 10 minutes. I'll have an ice cream. That is called a reward mechanism. So if you always follow that pattern of cue, action, and rewarding, those habits will stick and you'll start doing those habits effortlessly without having to think about them.